Vairagya Prakarana, Chapter 3. The Story of Shuka. Near the hillocks and away from the villages, there are groves. The villagers call these Nagaravanas or the snake groves. The canopy of foliage is so thick there that hardly any light seeps through. The trees in various stages of development support the creepers embracing them, seemingly in a mood of mutual affection and attraction. Some of the trees are living a full life, fall to become food for many a microbiological and insect life, reflecting the perpetuation of life. One can see the birds extremely busy in every kind of activity. The squirrels, chameleons, lizards, and monkeys, everyone at home with the grove. There is a pleasant smell of dampness of earth, wildflowers, fruits, fungi growing on the tree trunks, and of the flora in general. Though every experience mentioned is an integral part of survival, it is so mingled with everything else that one is enveloped in a state of timelessness, and the taste of eternity is just around the corner. A tangible mood of interdependence can be perceived. It may be because, for hundreds of years, neither a single tree in the grove has been touched, nor any creature has been killed by the villagers, owing to the feeling of awe and wonder. There is a conceptual plan of building up the so-called bioreserves by enclosing some forest areas for protecting plant and animal life. Long before this was even conceived, in India there existed this tradition of sacred groves. As with other aspects of our national character, these groves had a religiosity attached to them, not without certain ethical norms and codes. Precisely for this reason, the biologists find these Nagara or Sarpavanas storehouses of rich biological information. This information in turn gives us glimpses into the probable story of evolution. Theories of evolution have come to us through different mythological stories, as for example, the concept of Dashavatara, 10 incarnations. The 10 incarnations are Matsya, fish; Kurma, tortoise; Varaha, boar; Narasimha, man-lion; Vamana, man-dwarf; Parashurama, Rajasic man; Rama, Sattvic man; and Krishna, the complete man. And also from the long, painstaking contemplations and research of the scientists, we have these theories. The research in this direction still continues, making way for new and sometimes startling discoveries. The sciences like biology, anthropology, and cosmology try to pierce through the mystery of life form and the physical universe. Presently, the psychologists have begun to recognize the evolution of mind. The mythology tries to go deeper through its symbology, recognizing not only the mental evolution, but the evolution of the being as a whole. The Matsya or the fish represents the organic life in sea, and Krishna, the perfect avatara or the incarnation. Through such stories, spirituality was introduced to common man for giving a purpose and a meaning to life. The biological evolution as such slows down, if not stops, with humankind. But the other deeper and subtler evolution begins with it. This subtler evolution has two dimensions. The most obvious one, understood and appreciated by most of us, is the ability to survive and survive successfully, to increase the level of efficiency in the field of activity one is in. The quantity of material acquisition like money and comforts, and the social achievements like status, name, and fame. It may be because of this fact that most of us are able to perceive only the material aspect of existence. This popular dimension has been called as preyas, the pleasant. In some very rare cases, it dawns on some to seek for the other and deeper aspects. This dimensional mode of life has been called Shreyas, the good. One may turn to this dimension due to different reasons depending on the nature and aptitude of the person, like misery and failure, desire for material objects, thirst for knowledge, or due to the conviction that life as usually understood is incomplete without the deeper dimension. Rama and the Buddha belong to the category of persons with the conviction about the temporality of life with all its experiences. They had the experiential understanding of life which creates a mental turmoil. All that is required by such a person is encouragement and a little push. This sarga is devoted to impress upon the seeker that Rama was in an ideal condition to pursue this quest. On listening to the arguments presented by Rama about his disturbed state, sage Vishwamitra encouraged him through words of appreciation and endearment and compared the state he was in with that of sage Shuka, that of ideal receptivity for receiving the seeds of spirituality. Like a hungry man seeing food everywhere, Rama was very eager to gather a hint here and a suggestion there to alleviate his painful disturbance. The moment he heard the name of Sage Shuka, he wanted to know more of him, his struggle, and the ultimate triumph. Sage Vishwamitra told him the story of Shuka. Shuka, the son of sage Vyasa, had developed the proper understanding of life through self-effort. Even with all the scriptural as well as experiential knowledge, he had basic doubts about the origin of the universe and the Maya, the elusive power, which binds us to the material existence. He approached his father Vyasa to seek clarification. When suitable explanation was given, Shuka remarked that the same explanation was given in the scriptures. Vyasa understood that the father-son relationship was coming in between the proper communication. So he directed Shuka to the enlightened king Janaka for removing his doubts. In spite of the fact that King Janaka had been informed about the arrival of the sage, Shuka was made to wait for 7 days outside the palace gates. Then, for 7 days, he was made to wait inside the palace garden, and for the same period in the inner chambers of the palace, with beautiful maidens attending on him with choicest food and other forms of luxury. Whether he was placed in the insulting situations or otherwise, Shuka never lost his equipoise. Noting that the sage had fulfilled the required conditions of patience and equanimity, Janaka met the sage and asked the purpose of his visit. Shuka repeated the question he had asked his father. The philosopher king gave the very same reply as was given by his father, pointing to the non-dual state. Shuka observed that these very explanations were given in the scriptures and also by his revered father. He said that he was unable to understand why at all Maya originates in the lofty state of reality. Royal sage Janaka said that Shuka had already experienced the state, hence had not come under the influence of the pair of opposites. Only thing that remained to be done was to transcend the delusion of Maya altogether, and this was possible only by uninterrupted experience of Brahman, the one without the second. Enlightened Janaka then initiated Shuka into the mystery of Atman through direct experience. Having thus dissolved the vibration of I-ness, stainless Shuka attained quiescence and was freed from the pangs of birth and the agonies of death. Concluding the story, sage Vishwamitra asked Rama to follow the path that would be taught by Vasishtha. A free mind is that which is non-identified with enjoyments and sufferings. The natural inclination of the mind towards the objects of senses strengthens the bondage. Vishwamitra made a wonderful statement. Vasana tanavam Rama moksha ityuchyade budhaihi padartha vasanardadhyam bandha ityabhidiyate. Wise say, the thinning of vasana alone leads to freedom. The strengthening of vasanas towards sense objects is bondage. A Jivan Mukta is one who is effortlessly indifferent to sense enjoyments. The fact Rama had been able to analyze the intricacies of life itself shows that the light of Viveka had dawned on him, and the doubts afflicting the mind could be eliminated by the enlightened sage Vasishtha, who was aware of the mystery of time, being the preceptor of the world in this Mahayuga. He then requested sage Vasishtha to initiate Rama into the mysteries of Atman through Jnana stories. The natural biological evolution has taken billions of years from the simple to more and more complex organisms until it has reached human beings, the most complex and evolved of all the species. After man, the evolution becomes deliberate because among all the species, only human beings have the freedom to choose or not to choose the evolution. And very rarely do some persons choose to continue their subtler evolution. Just as the force of gravitation pulls us towards the earth, the force of attraction in the form of sense indulgence and mental involvement retards our progress. We should realize that indulgence and involvement keep the mind turned outward. And as far as human beings are concerned, the only direction of evolution is the inward. This view does not belittle the external indulgence but only makes a statement of fact for making us aware of the different dimensions of human search. There have been two types of persons who have sought enlightenment, which happens to be the culmination of all evolution. The first type is that which has experienced the world in all its phases to the point of satiation. It is believed that the 24 Buddhas as well as the same number of Jain Tirthankaras were from the royal lineage, and all of them had left their kingdoms and given up the life of luxury and preferred to embrace the life of mendicants. It may or may not be a historical fact, but it is definitely indicative of the fact that they belong to a class of persons who chose the inner dimension after getting fully convinced about the temporality of the grosser facet of existence. Coincidentally, persons like Rama and Krishna, who were considered as the incarnation by the Hindu pantheon, had a royal background. It could be that if one has totally seen through the incompleteness of only the survival aspect of life, through meaninglessness of sense indulgence and of the outer obsessive mental involvements like possessiveness and greed for power based on one's own experience, the quest for the permanent becomes sincere and intense. The second type of persons has been what may be called as the intelligent. They may not have the first-hand experience, at least in that very life, but their power of observation is so remarkable that they do not waste their precious time or energy on the superficial. Persons like Kabir Das, a weaver, Rai Das, a cobbler, Gora Kumbhar, a potter, Sadhana, a barber, and others like them were from the common lot, who who neither abandoned their traits nor found it necessary to do so. They had seen through the shallowness of all aspects of survival through the experience of others. Though most of them were unlettered as far as formal education is concerned, what they have said through their songs is enough to give us an insight into the level of their understanding. Whatever be the background, the fact remains that a seeker should have the proper understanding of life. Existence may be compared to the myriad with a broad base and a tapering vertex. The base constitutes the least evolved of the species, while the peak the enlightenment. Beauty of our culture is that it accepts all the phases of evolution as necessary. When one climbs a pyramid or a mountain, one starts going away from the ground. As and when one starts climbing the ladder of evolution, one starts giving less and less importance to basic urges and hunger. And as one starts becoming more attentive to the goal, the attraction for the lower drops off totally on its own because one gets possessed by the devotion to the enlightenment, the summit. The main difference between humankind and other species is that the evolution for the other species is a matter of course, while the human beings it is a matter of choice. We all are related very intricately through our interdependence and are the important members, each one of us, of the sacred grove that is this web of existence. A sadhaka or a seeker tries to recognize his own place in the grove and to stretch to the capacity even beyond his limits for making himself eligible for the union with the most sacred, one without the second. His total being concentrated on the ideal, he is ready to sacrifice everything for achieving his end. And such a person comes to be called as a mumukshu.